Thank you for this wonderful introduction, though I don't know how much of that I deserve. And thanks to Dr. Deshpande and Munish sir for calling us over, and Mani and Gopal sir who've been very, very helpful. It's a privilege and an honor to be here. And you've got a background of what we do. I have a particular skill, though the topic is on rural skilling. It is called cure for insomnia. So if after lunch any of you feel not able to sleep, I will ensure over the next 1 hour that all of you are put to good sleep and you'll have a nice nap, power nap in the afternoon, right? So this is the, I was just joking, I hope I don't do that. So yeah, please. So this is the format of the presentation. We will have some videos in between, so that I also wanted to get you some expert opinions, and one of the experts being our Prime Minister Dr. Narendra Modi, Mr. Narendra Modi himself. I think this starts with the interesting quote he mentioned. The pride of India in the 20th century was IITs, and for the 21st century it needs to be ITIs. So I think that's the theme of the whole thing. But before that, I think I know that there is a homage session which is happening at 3:30, but I want to also add that the whole initiative of what we are doing, Pan-IIT, was in fact on the inspiration of Dr. Kalyan. When he had come actually to Pan-IIT 2006 conference, he gave us the kind of a mandate that IITians should not be job seekers but be job creators. So I think it's like he said, he's a karma yogi, and the best tribute for him is to actually do more work with greater vigor and energy. So that's the whole spirit. So let me start today's lecture by an interesting video. This is the video that was actually part of the speech which Prime Minister Modi had given for Skill India program being launched, and this is not too far, it was only on July 15th. So I will spend about 6-7 minutes of his time. It's a wonderful watch. If you guys want to kind of go online, it's narendramodi.in, you can download the video or definitely see it. I don't think we have time for the whole thing, but there are some bits which I wanted you to kind of understand, and that will lay the context for today's lecture on Skill India, right? Vocational training and entrepreneurship. And so this is the video which I will play from now.
पिछली शताब्दी में दुनिया के अंदर हमने आईआईटी के माध्यम से विश्व में अपना नाम बनाया। दुनिया ने हमारे आईआईटी को एक अच्छी इंस्टीट्यूशन के रूप में स्वीकार किया। हमें गर्व है। लेकिन इस शताब्दी में हमारी आवश्यकता है आईटीआई की। अगर पिछले शताब्दी में आईआईटी ने दुनिया का नाम कमाया, तो इस शताब्दी में हमारी छोटी आईआईटी की इकाइयां ये दुनिया में नाम कमाए, ये सपना लेकर के हम आगे बढ़ना चाहते हैं। हम कहते हैं कि हमारे पास 65% जनसंख्या 35 साल से कम आयु की है। अगर उसके पास कौशल्य नहीं होगा, उसके पास अगर अवसर नहीं होंगे, तो चुनौतियों को कैसे पार कर पाएगा? अगर वो चुनौतियों को पार नहीं कर पाएगा, तो हमारे लिए वो खुद एक चुनौती बन जाएगा। और इसलिए भारत के लिए सबसे पहली अगर कोई प्राथमिकता है, तो देश के नौजवानों के लिए रोजगार उपलब्ध कराना, रोजगार के योग्य नौजवानों को तैयार करना। सबसे ज्यादा वर्कफोर्स अगर कहीं से मिलेगा तो हिंदुस्तान से मिलेगा। दुनिया की मांग हमारे सामने स्पष्ट है कि दुनिया में जरूरत पड़ने वाली है, लेकिन क्या हम उसके लिए सज्ज हैं? क्या हमने तैयारी की है? क्या ज्यादा से ज्यादा अभी हमारा ध्यान नर्सिंग स्टाफ की तरफ रहता है। देखिए तो नर्सिंग स्टाफ के लोग जाते हैं, या हमारे जो मेडिसिन का काम करने वाले लोग हैं तो ब्लड प्रैक्टिस में गए, उसी के आगे विपरीत हमारा चला है। हमें न सिर्फ भारत को लेकिन पूरे विश्व की ह्यूमन रिसोर्स की रिक्वायरमेंट का मैपिंग करके भारत में अभी से सज्ज करना चाहिए कि चलिए आपको नर्सिंग से पैरामेडिकल के लिए लोग चाहिए, ये हमारी 25 इंस्टीट्यूशन है, सर्टिफाइड इंस्टीट्यूशन है, यहां से नौजवानों को ले जाइए, आपका काम चला देंगे। हमें विश्व की जो आवश्यकता है, एक बहुत बड़ा जॉब मार्केट है, उस जॉब मार्केट को वैज्ञानिक तरीके से अध्ययन करके हमने अपने लोगों को तैयार करना होगा। आज हमारे यहां क्या हालत है, हम में से बहुत लोग होंगे जिनको एक बात का अनुभव आया होगा, यहां बैठे लोगों कभी कभी अपने दोस्तों को कहा होगा कि आप देखो यार कोई अच्छा ड्राइवर मिले तो, मेरे पास ड्राइवर नहीं है। अब ये सवाल का जवाब हमें ढूंढना है कि देश में नौजवान है, बेरोजगार है और वो ड्राइवर के बिना परेशान है, क्या हम रास्ता नहीं खोल सकते क्या? और आज फिर क्या होता है कि वो परंपरा से कहीं पर गाड़ी साफ करते 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 गियर बदलना सीख जाता है और स्टीयरिंग पकड़ के तो हम कभी कभी रिस्क लेके उसको रख लेते हैं। अब हमारी गाड़ी का कोई वो ट्रेनिंग इंस्टीट्यूट बनाकर वो सीखता है और कभी कभार हमारा रिस्क भी रहता है। क्या हम इन लोगों को सर्टिफाइड करने की जरूरत है जो अपने तरीके से परंपरागत से सीखे, किसी इंस्टीट्यूशन में नहीं गए, लेकिन कम से कम जो उसको रखता है उसको पता चले हाँ भाई ये इसके पास ये सर्टिफिकेट है, मतलब कहीं के ऊपर एग्जाम हो चुकी है। भले अपने आप सिखाओ, आज उम्र चले 35-40 पार कर गया हो, लेकिन उसको लगता है कि मेरे पास कोई अथॉरिटी नहीं है, कोई आइडेंटिटी नहीं है। तो ये सरकार ये व्यवस्था करने जा रही है कि भले आप परंपरा से सीखे हो, लेकिन अगर आप बेसिक नॉर्म्स को पार करते हो तो हम आपको सर्टिफिकेट देंगे, जो सर्टिफिकेट किसी इंजीनियर से कम नहीं होगा, मैं विश्वास से कहता हूं। अब ये बड़ी कठिनाई है, सवाल बता रहे थे कि हर कोई कहता है कि अनुभव क्या है, वो कहता है मेरे काम तो दो फिर मैं अनुभव का बताऊं। पहले मरना कि पहले अंडा, इसी का बहस चल रहा है। नौकरी नहीं, अनुभव नहीं, अनुभव नहीं से नौकरी नहीं, यही चलता रहता है। हमारे यहां आवश्यकता है एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप को बल देना। कभी कभी उद्योग जगत के लोग भी एंटरप्रेन्योर को रखने से डरते हैं, उनको लगता है रख लूंगा और सरकार का कोई साहब आ गया और सर गिरेगा, ज्यादा हो गए तो मर गया, मेरे कारखाने को ताला लग जाएगा, तो रखने को तैयार नहीं है। कानून की जगह में कभी कभी ऐसी है, हमारे नौजवानों को जगह नहीं मिलती है। हम चाहते हैं कि देश में रोजगार का अवसर बढ़े, जो एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप के लिए जाना चाहता है उसको अवसर मिले, जो अप्रेंटिसशिप के लिए जाना चाहता है उसको अवसर मिले। जब तक उसको अवसर नहीं मिलेगा अनुभव आएगा नहीं। और इसलिए हमारी कोशिश है कि अप्रेंटिसशिप को कैसे बढ़ावा दें। इस पूरे मिशन को हमने स्किल तक सीमित नहीं रखा है, इसके साथ एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप को जोड़ा है, क्योंकि हम ये नहीं चाहते कि हर कोई बड़े तो बस कहीं एक नौकरी खोलता है। जरूरी नहीं है, एक ड्राइवर भी एंटरप्रेन्योर बन सकता है। वो भी कॉन्ट्रैक्ट पर गाड़ी लेकर के सब कॉन्ट्रैक्टर बनकर गाड़ी चला सकता है। हम उसके अंदर
very entertaining and informative, but we have to progress further. I think you got the basics of what the Honorable PM was trying to tell you. There were some points about something called recognition of prior learning. Hello? There were some points about, is this audible? Am I audible? Already people have started sleeping, no? Is that okay? Some problem. Vision from the PM itself, basically he talked about skill development and entrepreneurship. Second thing he referred was about recognition of prior learning. That's what he meant, that जो hereditally or people who have learned वंश पारंपर्य से जो जिन्होंने सीखा है उनको भी हम recognition देंगे. And the last point was of course about how India can be the human capital provider for the world. So these were the three themes. So let's proceed further. I think these are the various sections of the presentation or lecture today. And I would start with the skill development in India, background and value chain economics. Before that, I think it was Mr. Gopal who had mentioned that actually the government, this government and the earlier one also, have been spending quite a bit of energy and policy initiative on skill development. I think it was Mr. Modi's vision about how he has clubbed all the ministries which had skills. There were about 17 of them, which were all running concurrent skill development programs and synergized into one single ministry under the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. So I think these are things which are now coming to play. If you see, for example, which are the ministries in charge, to the right, do you see that there are welfare schemes, then there is DGET, then there is UGC, there is AICTE, and then the Ministry of HRD. So bottom line is that about 432 million people, that is close to 400 crore people, 430 crore people are supposed to be under the education/skill development paradigm. And out of this, substantial number of them are actually dropouts. In fact, when you do look up the video online, the initial part talks about how he envisaged the skill mission for not who have actually been able to graduate or even go to an IIT. He takes that example. Interesting concept of skill premium. The difference between the red line and the green line is what is called skill premium. It's not very difficult to understand. In fact, when we go for grassroots level sourcing conversations, which are basically when you go down to ask people to enroll to a skill development program, a simple way for us to tell them what is the value of skill development, we tell them that if you and your father go together, both of you get the same wages for unskilled work. Whatever is the current wages, is it 150 rupees, 200 rupees, whatever it is per day, both of you for those 8 hours get the same work, though your father must have worked for 15, 20 more years than you did. And that's the reason why the red line, which is the unskilled line, will always be at the minimum wage, no matter what is your experience or however long you worked in the unskilled labor. But green line on the other hand is what is skill line. That is where skill accrues premium over time. Take for example driving, right? Like the minister, like Prime Minister was mentioning. A driver who probably starts off at around 10 to 11,000 rupees. A Volvo driver today gets 40 to 50,000 rupees, right? So therefore, it's ultimately a journey that someone can take, and then there is an appreciation of premium that comes over time because of skill and enhancement of skill by experience. That's the important thing. So fundamentally, our job with these 400 million people should be to push them from the red line to the green line. That's the real thing, right? Initially, if you pay attention, it will not be too much, because even if you give him a 6-month training or a 1-year training, ultimately, how much differential will the market give, right? The market will say, okay, I mean, yeah, fine, he's got some training, but he might not have the same experience or skill level as somebody who would have had 5 years of work experience. Therefore, initially, they will have some premium, but not too much. But over time, the gap starts widening, and that's something we need to keep in mind. And the second thing which is important, and again which was mentioned, was that wage-based employment is as important as self-employment. I will come back to entrepreneurship, right, and that's one of the themes also of today's lecture. But probably people believe it's a misnomer, and many of you are getting into the agriculture sector. every farmer is technically an entrepreneur, right? He is actually investing his own money, he is taking the risk. Incidentally, many of the times the risk in India, more likely than not, doesn't work out, and if for example, like this year, if there is a drought kind of a situation, there is a problem with monsoon, he typically ends up making losses. The question we have to ask is entrepreneurship by choice or by lack of choice? Is it by compulsion, right? So what happens in India today is actually, if you ask me, entrepreneurship by compulsion rather than by choice. And all of us in this room, incidentally, including me, are all employed. We are not chosen to be entrepreneurs because it is more difficult. It's not everybody's cup of tea. There are multiple variables that are required for actually making entrepreneurship work. So we need to keep in mind that wage-based development is one vertical, the one pillar. An equally important pillar is entrepreneurship, but entrepreneurship that is done by choice, not by compulsion, right? So these two I just wanted to mention. And this is also the primer, if I was to use the word, where basically I'm giving a background of the skill development initiatives in this country. If you look at it, it's fundamentally, as of today, an unviable business proposition. Otherwise you would have had the Reliances, the Tatas and everybody getting into it. The problem is that there are, especially for the blue collar sector, say for example, like what we've been discussing, say driving, right? You need capital intensive training. What is capital intensive training? You need to invest in a truck or a car or a driving track and good premises if you want to give good quality training. And you also need to optimize and you need to look at candidates' ability to be able to pay that kind of fees. If for example you tell them that okay, I will make you a driver but you have to pay me 25,000 for it, but like what the example the Prime Minister was giving, he can actually say I will learn on the job as a cleaner, I don't have the money to be able to pay 25, maybe I want to but I don't have the money. Or third will be, what will I do after this, what really happens, will I get a job, how will I work with it? So we've had some on the ground experiences on how to handle this. I will discuss that a little later when I come to that. So those are the demand side constraints. The supply side factors which are affecting is that jobs and growth, and that's the next slide, I think couple of slides later, is all focused in south and west and people are in east and north, right? In the population terms, UP is the most populous state in which you are there. Bihar, all of these populous states is not where GSDP, the gross state domestic product, is obviously not growing as fast as say Maharashtra or Tamil Nadu. So in India itself there are regions of high growth and low growth. So there is first problem there. Second is attitude, right? People have an attitude of entitlement, people have an attitude of pride. Nowadays I understand many youngsters, and then I'm sure the faculty at Bird will informally share with you, it's not been easy to handle classes because people have a preconceived notion that I already referred to Professor Google, I mean, I really don't need you. So, so these are the issues which people have. People have attitudes about learnability, what is the value of learning, they question, as compared to our little older tradition where we used to have, Gurudevo Bhava and that kind of feeling. So it's not there yet, right? People still don't relate as much to the older tradition. So there is an entitlement mindset. And the third one is employer unfortunately does not have the time, patience or the money to really take care of, kind of investing in you, right? And this applies to every level. I mean, I think take the corporation bank example, a lot of the trainees have joined here. If for example, they were not competent enough for the job, corporation bank would not go extra mile and say, okay, we will get involved with your life over the next 3 years, make you competent to be able to join corporation bank and then give you an offer. They won't do that. They want ready-made people. They can, yes, they'll do some grooming, some like what's happening with the Bird training, they'll do some some orientation, but nobody wants to really train somebody ab initio. It just doesn't make economic sense for them. So what we've realized in the skill development sector when we started work 5 years back was that issue is not just of building capacity. That's probably, I would say, the lesser issue. The bigger issue is filling up that built up capacity in a viable manner. So attracting enough students for training is not as easy as it sounds. People do not flock training institutions just because you open to them, because they are asking one simple question: what is my return on investment? If I come to this training institute and I take up the skill development training, what is the end outcome I personally will get? Are you giving me a certification that really is valued in the market as of today, based on which I will get a higher pay as compared to when I just land up at that premises with no certificate, will I get the same pay? If I am getting minimum wages irrespective of having a certificate or not, then why would I want to go through this pain, right? So I think very valid questions. They are questioning, the way currently the entire system is organized, and these are answers which will take some time for unraveling. The ecosystem needs to mature. So this is, the statistics are all very, you can say impressive or scary, whichever way you want to look at it, right? The skilled worker demand on the rise for India. So that should be worker, sorry. Skilled worker demand on the rise in India. So for example, in 2022, this is the incremental human resource requirement the industry is projecting that we require, right? So there is huge number of, take construction, it requires 33 million people, huge numbers. So this is the incremental human resource requirement over and above what is there currently. That's the growth of Indian industry per se, right? So there is requirement, like I think I'm just alluding to that because it's an interesting reference point, is there is a requirement for a driver, but the question is, where does that, what price point, at what salary will he be employed? These are the questions we need to work. And another important question is, what are the expectations of stakeholders? Who will pay for this training, right? Is it employers? Employers are people, like I said, employers might invest on the job training. OJT stands for on job training. So employers might invest on OJT if people retain for some time, right? If for example you train them and they join your competitor, the company is saying, why did I do this? It makes no economic sense to me. The second lot is the vocational training providers. That's what the VTP stands for. Vocational training providers need students, but they want them to pay fees. They are saying, we cannot subsidize you, we have our own costs. And they are willing to invest if people are willing to pay. And the third lot is of course students who want an assured job, good pay. Most of them dream of becoming very rich very fast and very easy money. So there are the aspirations and they have whatever they have. And they might not have either the cash or the willingness or both till results are seen. So we have these three constituencies in the skill development ecosystem which have different, tendencies to invest or not invest. And one player which I have not added here because consciously so, and is because the government is one big spender in this sector. It is actually probably one of the biggest subsidizers in the space. But the way the mission and the skill development policy are evolving, increasingly the government wants to be very smart and targeted about its subsidy. It just does not want to give across the board subsidies, and I think a very simple example is IIT's fees itself. When I studied, and this was the first year when they actually hiked the money. Before that it used to be some ridiculous 200 rupees per year kind of fees. When I started they made it 20,000 rupees, but now I think I hear it's some 1 lakh or 2 lakhs per year or something like that. So obviously there is pressure on the educational institutions and the vocational training institutions to become sustainable. The government is saying, I cannot keep paying for your, for subsidizing you. So that's why I have not put government, because as I see it, it's there for some time. It wants to minimize its investment. It wants to give its targeted subsidy to probably like some disadvantaged economic groups or very marginal groups, not for generally the masses, right? So this is the structure of various stakeholders in the vocational training. And the economics of vocational training is that and this is the famous system which is followed across the world. Unfortunately in India it is not yet there, it's getting there. Is that there is two concepts in vocational or skill development. One is called vocational education and the second thing is called vocational training. Education is basically software, if I may put it very simply. Vocational training is the hardware. It is the hard aspect of learning. The soft part of it is, for example, your manners, your culture, your discipline, your punctuality, safety, productivity, quality. These are the soft aspects. The hard aspects is the technical skill. For example, do you know driving, do you know plumbing, do you know welding, or do you really understand accounting? So these are the things which are there. So across the world, the model is that vocational education is done in typically training institutes, and vocational training is done on the job through apprenticeships. That is what was being alluded to. Apprenticeships therefore become very important because people have to learn on the job. It's difficult to replicate real life situations for many sectors. So this was the point I was talking about, that human capital supply is, if I were to say, somewhere on the eastern northern side, like here, right here, and then the human capital demand was, as it were, in south and west. So obviously, and if you look at average GDP numbers, it's more or less double. So that's what I was saying. If you look at gross state domestic product in India, there is huge disparity between certain groups of states and certain other groups of states. So that's why migration happens. That's where a lot of people actually migrate from Bihar, UP or any other states back to these Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu, elsewhere, Gujarat. So there's a lot of intra-country migration which happens, seasonal, sometimes desperate, but then that's the reality which we face with. So these are the different dynamics of the skill development sector. I hope you got some idea with it, in the last 5-7 minutes, which I tried to kind of get you a basic understanding of the sector. I will give a case study in terms of what we do, how we kind of approach this problem, what worked, what did not work. This is not a conversation about Pan-IIT, so I don't want to spend too much time on that either. So we have I don't know what is the sleepiness quotient now, and good news is that only I can't see the audience also, but I hope people are awake. So I'll play the next video, which is basically a 5-minute clip on what we really do. And once we see that, I will just run through our model just to kind of give you an idea of how we attack this problem. The reason why this is interesting for you is that we have taken a very banker approach to the whole thing. We have not said it will be a free training, or it will not be a training which is purely free subsidy, grant based, but we actually took the more difficult path of giving loan and a training based on loan, right? It's much simpler to give grant and just write it off, but getting a loan, worrying about repayment, it's much more difficult path. But that's the interesting, that's the challenging part of the whole thing. So let's understand what that entails, and then we'll get there, right? Audio.
PARFI is the nation-building enterprise of Pan-IITians to enhance incomes of the underprivileged. Corporates have a revenue model that enables scale, while NGOs pursue grant-based social mission. PARFI is a new breed social enterprise that pursues social mission coupled with sustainability principles at scale. This path-breaking nation-building approach is at the heart of rural skilled Gurukul model.
The National Skills Development Council, headed by our Honorable Prime Minister, has recognized skills development for our youth as one of the most important challenges and opportunities for our country. The Pan-IIT Gurukul model of engaging with the youth, which is an excellent model, which should be looked at from the point of view of replication across the country, across the various districts. I would certainly recommend this.
PARFI's rural skill Gurukuls are vocational training schools that provide short-term technical training in a residential Gurukul setup with a short placement and 100% loan financing.
The National Skill Development Corporation, NSDC, is very privileged to be able to get and partner Pan-IIT. It demonstrates the thought leadership and dedication of a band of committed ex-IITians who have got together, conceptualized and implemented this whole PARFI program to actually create an ecosystem in partnership with different types of organizations.
PARFI has co-created a skill ecosystem with state governments, providing local infrastructure, CII, enabling assured placement and student loans through collaboration with NABARD.
Our experience of this collaboration has been very good. We joined the Pan-IIT to look for people who would otherwise get ignored in their skill upgradation. It is here that the concept of providing loans to such people based on the security of their future incomes that was brought to us by Pan-IIT.
PARFI first contracts with an organization to ensure placement. NABARD refinances local NGO network that sources candidates and disburses loans for enrollment into PARFI skill gurukuls. After training, the candidate joins the employer and pays EMI through standard deductions from his monthly salary. This cycle creates a revolving fund for training newer candidates, fulfilling the vision that if an IITian can get a loan for his IIT education, then why not the poorest of the poor? PARFI partnered with CII for creating a network of employers, typically CII members.
We have to create millions of skilled professionals. CII was looking for partners who could execute this. This is a wonderful initiative which Pan-IIT is supporting. They have the reach, they have the support of the entire Pan-IIT community, and it was an ideal partnership and it's done well. CII is very glad to partner with Pan-IIT for Reach for India.
Demand-led technical training is imparted using latest technologies, such as simulators, along with work site-like infrastructure.
There are two challenges. One is obviously getting the number of people whom we require for our logistics business, but equally it is about building up the culture in them to respect and work with the organization and create a business model which is sustainable going forward. So what we are seeing in Pan-IIT has been not just commitment but also passion for delivering both of this together.
A typical day at Gurukul starts with yoga and flag hoisting, followed by technical training, sports, work values. The focus is not just on training, but also on retention at the workplace, so that students do not drop out of the learning process.
We have been associated with PARFI. Experience has been very good. The people who have been trained by them are working with us. We find very little attrition. In turn, outside people are also getting very excited, asking for people trained by PARFI. The training imparted by them is also of a very good quality. The boys who have been trained in the organization also are showing a lot of promise.
गांव घर में खेती बाड़ी करते थे, उन लोग को उसमें कोई प्रॉफिट नहीं मिलता था। मेरा लड़का को जो है तो प्रशिक्षण के लिए यहाँ गुरुकुल में भेज दिए हैं। यहाँ सीख जाएंगे तो कुछ काम आगे बढ़ेंगे, तो कुछ परिवार का माने भरण पोषण के लिए कोई दिक्कत नहीं होगा। फिर हम लोग यहाँ से भुवनेश्वर में छापुर जी पालन जी का साइड में हम लोग गए। 7,000, 8,000, 8,500 तक हम लोग का भी पगार मिल जाता है। जो 6,500 लोन लिए थे तो हम लोग 6 महीने में चुका भी दिए। कमाएंगे तो हम सोचते कि सुपरवाइजर बनेंगे, इंजीनियर बनेंगे, आगे लेके चलते हैं, पीछे नहीं हटेंगे।
Thank you. So let's continue this conversation about the case study on the loan-based training model. It's interesting because, like I said, it's a banking approach or a developmental banking approach to skill development, first of its kind again. So you've seen the videos, and I think I don't want to go too much into the entire thing, but the bottom line is this is a section 8 or section 25 when we were incorporated. So it's a section 25 or a not-for-profit company under the aegis of the IIT Alumni, and the idea is to implement and scale self-sustainable models that enhance incomes of the underprivileged. Right. So I think this is something which is a very growing field, the entire social enterprises and social businesses. It's the next segment of the lecture as well. So I might just spend on this. If you look at it, on the left extreme are the corporates which actually have a maximizing profit as a motive. And then you have right side, which are NGOs, which are not for profit, yes, but they're typically loss making. So they're fundamentally grant based, and if I may say, they are like the heart regime. So you have the corporates which are the head regime, and this is the heart regime. And the social enterprise has a very, very difficult, unviable thing to do, very difficult, enviable thing to do, is to be a head and heart regime. In a cricketing parlance, this is like you have a batsman on one end, bowler on one end, this is like an all-rounder. So it's not that easy to kind of become this entity, because you have constraints on both sides, and you have to be sustainable at the same time. You have to service the poor. So these are the things, but I think that's the new exciting world many people are coming to. I'm sure during your tenure in the banking sector, you will face more and more such enterprises coming. And this works on the principle of return of capital, while the for-profit is return on capital. And of course NGOs just write off capital. So I think that's the way it works, and that I think there is a perfect place for all three to exist. All three have very, very symbiotic relationship. The problem is that we have either one or two of them. So we need all three for the entire ecosystem to evolve. Right? Just to give an example, the entire Pan-IIT model was predicated on taking a segment that cannot pay upfront. Otherwise we would have been NIT, right? Happily train computer folks, and just get graduates who are willing to pay 25, 35, 45,000 rupees to get a C++ Java training and get a nice job in Infosys. But we've actually focused on a segment which is by definition, they're like sir was saying, Dr. Deshpande was saying, 7,000 or 5,000 rupees is 74% of them are living under, right? If you ask them to pay a fees of even 15,000 rupees, this is for residential training for 2 to 3 months. I mean, they cannot pay. That's the kind of target segment we are talking to. And these are wards of daily agricultural laborers, they are daily wage laborers, they are marginal landowners, and the poor do not want dole-outs. And when you look at that video which I was talking about, the Skill India video which the PM had talked about, he starts by saying this, that aaj yuva bheek nahi mangte. They don't want dole-outs, they want dependable services which they can get hak se, famous song sadda hak hai tera. So people want things where it's for them that they demand. They're not asking it to be at the disposal of some benefactor like a government or somebody else. So that's how we were set up. We are actually a non-profit incorporation purely because we wanted to keep the social mandate intact, but we also could collaborate with somebody like, for example, NABARD. Like Mr. Mani was saying, we got NABARD funding while we were incorporating. I mean, that itself shows how open government entities are when the mandates and the objectives are similar. The for-profit setup, unfortunately, this is where the problem comes. The government wants them to work for social mandate, but then obviously they have an investor mandate that they need to work on, right? And we focused on blue-collar trades which are easy to, kind of learn or amenable to dropouts. Because if you ask them, for example, to become BPO worker who is an English voice operator or voice assistant or executive, obviously beyond a point you cannot teach them English, you cannot, they don't think in English, and it's not fair for us to expect that they have to cross the bridge of education with a skill development program, right? So that's how it is. You've seen the video and stuff. So I think you've got the hang of the entire skill loan model. Bottom line is that it works on a typical assured placement, because these guys do not have the ability to repay without corresponding employment. They first get a training loan, and then they join the training for 60 to 90 days of residential training, and then they join the employer and repay through salary credit. It's not very different from how an IIT aspirant, even if he has cleared the JEE, does not have money to study IIT, and how SBI offers him loan and he repays once he joins the job, right? So, and all the accolades you've heard of NSDC, this was the most promising partner award. And one of the interesting things which we did, and this also ties back to our initial theme of India becoming the human capital service provider to the world, is we actually also did a program for exporting people, for actually sending some of these folks for trades like plumbing, electrician abroad instead of Indian placement. And these are people who never, for example, traveled in a train, forget a flight, right? They don't have birth certificate, they don't have passports. We actually helped them create an entire paperwork for getting passport, got them passport, got them training, got them a loan and a job and visa and travel ticket. So it's a fairly interesting challenge to actually go through this. But we did that, and we wanted to pilot that, in India, this is a model that is possible, which is non-exploitative. Otherwise, the entire racket of going to Middle East is a 1 to 1.5 lakh per candidate bracket. Already very few people can even afford that. So we wanted to be able to send folks who could not afford that to go there, right? So this is that school in Ranchi, which basically works on ducting, electrician and plumbing. We have other trades even for domestic. This is where Mr. Jairam Ramesh had inaugurated, and this is one thing I wanted to kind of plant in some seeds for the early bankers, right? In fact, when he came, he's also a fellow IITian. He was joking and said, "Why are you not taking grants from us?" So I said, "Sir, the grant money from government is like seawater. There's a lot to drink, but very little that is potable, So unfortunately, it comes with too many, difficult to comply conditions, and we want fresh water, So that is why he laughed, and that was the interesting discussion that was there. And this is in East Singhbhum, in another district in Jharkhand, and this is welding, fitting, tower erection trades, and the driving, which the Prime Minister was again talking about. This is forklift driving, which is again a very interesting trade. So this is the operating model dynamics. We first tie up for employers. We actually don't set up a center till we actually have an employer tied up on what basis they want the center, right? That's how it should be. If you actually don't know what skill they want, the market wants, on what basis do you even decide the skill? So in our model, it starts with demand first. We actually go and sign an MOU with an employer. After the signing of dotted line, we say we will set up a center for you. And it's in future tense. It is not in past tense or present tense. We already have set up. No. Then we ask them, what do you require in your training infrastructure? How do you work? You will be surprised. Each company has their own set of parameters that they want. Some, two construction companies do not have one trade common. I mean, that's fair, right? It's their job. They are giving jobs, whatever they want. So it's completely 100% customized captive model. Then of course we mobilize candidates and train and deploy in a self-sustainable manner. So we have IIT network, of course. That's the whole point of Pan-IIT, was that we wanted to leverage the IIT network for nation building, right? And similar organizations, it's by no means any exclusive or elitist in their mindset, right? Similarly, we work with CIA. And the hard infrastructure comes from the state governments, from corporates, from foundations, unutilized government buildings. You will be surprised about the amount of unutilized physical infrastructure that lies in this country. I think the favorite pastime for the government is to build buildings. That's what they do. I mean, you can't blame them, because that's the easiest to audit. There is physical building there. Nobody can question that, there is misuse of funds. And they genuinely, believe that it's a right thing to do, and I appreciate that. In fact, the amount of physical infrastructure that has already been built up will give us a lot of leverage in the future to be able to execute. Like, for example, rural warehousing, right? I honestly don't think you need to build rural warehousing. You actually have to find rural warehouses. They're already there. And we go to collector, we get an option of 10 buildings. These are all idle. Which one do you want? So that's the amount of idling infrastructure in this country. And we talk about there's a lack of infrastructure funding. I think there's a lot more issue of matching than actually building. Then the second thing is, of course, kitchen and stuff. And then one thing we take very seriously is the kind of trainers and the staff we put. They're all by definition ex-servicemen. We only take former junior commissioned officers from the armed forces to be principals, so that it's like a mini army camp that is run there, which is good, because in 2 to 3 months, if you want to get somebody from this stage to this stage, it requires that kind of hard scrubbing and whatever you want, if you will. Trainers come from industry also, sometimes from the army also, and the employers also do this. So this is the demand-led model. So people might have doubts, I think, especially people here in the development banking sector, whether loan-based works or grant-based works, because it's much simpler to sell grant, right? For example, if the same lecture was to have a price and you had to pay for it from your pocket, you will think really twice, is this worth 100 rupees of my time, right? So that's where you're pushed to automatically deliver value. So easy is to fill classrooms by just giving money, right? You're saying, I'm giving you free training. Some people even throw in a stipend, food and everything else. So you see a lot of capacity, but no outcome happens. That is why in India there's a lot of content, but a lot of intent, but there's no content. So that's one. And similarly, there are selection hazards. How do you choose who will come and who will not come? There's unequal bargaining power. The moment you get distorting into the market, that's where the whole business of risks and what should I say, under the table channel starts. So that's something we need to work out on. So our experience has been is that grant models show phenomenal training activity and expenditure, but it's very difficult. In fact, the famous joke is that there are, instead of training professionals, there are professional trainees. The guy will sit in one training center, then he'll go to another one, then he'll go to another one. 1 year he would have just sat through various training programs, happily getting stipend, happily getting trained. What is he using it for? Very difficult to tell. So it's exactly like our education system. It's not very difficult, and in that sense it's very scary. In our education system, I'm sure you know the statistic, it's a pyramid structure. Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, we put everybody in the primary school, but by the time you go to 10th class, you have probably 12-13% coming out. For every 100 kids who go in the class 1, in 10th probably 20% come out. That's 80% of dropout rate. So this is the same scenario which we don't want to repeat in skill development, because we are talking about those 80% who have already dropped out, right? So we have to be very careful, and that's where I think the loan model brings in some seriousness, some amount of equity from all the partners concerned. Don't think it is easy for us either. NABARD has our neck all the time on the line, because we are also in some sense morally responsible for the repayments. So it's a very interesting structure. These are some photographs just to show evidence that I did indeed do this, not claiming without going. Just joking, right? So this is a Gurukul based approach. It's completely residential. It's not just skill training we give attitude and knowledge as well. So that it's a holistic training. It's a more or less a full-time scrubbing program, if you ask me, simply put, 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. That's how it is. They do flag hoisting. In fact, many people actually have to clean toilets every day. They have to clean premises every day. This is about equality of work. So whenever we say they don't want to get into kitchen, they don't want to get into bathroom, I say, yo, we want, आपकी बीवी को तो ये सब करना है, आपको नहीं करना. So ऐसे नहीं होता ना. So then they understand that they also get into all this. So these are some of the certifications. These are some of our, analysis of retention, why people stay, why people go, and it's fairly interesting. We don't have much time, so I need to progress further. But so I think this has been our learning. It's a fascinating journey. Our learning has been that it does work. People poor do not want dole-outs. They are actually open to having sensible, revenue-based model, paid models. But then it has to come at a price point that works for them. You can't charge 50,000 rupees for a training that they cannot afford. They just cannot afford. It's like you and I trying to buy a Mercedes car. We cannot. And same thing, another thing is also at the pace at which they can afford, right? They cannot upfront pay. They need some kind of a loan mechanism to be able to put the risk in. So these are the various things we have done. We've actually, taken a captive model. We worked on training related. So what are the critical success factors, if you ask us, on the skill development sector? First and foremost, we believe that it has to be a market-driven, demand-led training. Please do not do training for the sake of training. While it's good on paper, you can bring out nice brochures, but it doesn't really cause good change on the ground. Also, outcome guarantee has to be taken. This is the real Narega. It is not about, giving some kind of subsidy, but actually guaranteeing outcome for your work. And this is difficult. I understand that. In fact, even IITs and IIMs don't assure 100% placement. I mean, they don't make any such claims. They just say we give you education. But unfortunately, in skill development, the kind of people we are talking to, they have huge opportunity cost. They are people who you can't take them lightly, and they're not, in the business of finding their own stuff. So you need to help them out. So you have to take outcome guarantee. I think we are looking at, another interesting finding was that there were two kinds of poor we've realized. One is poor by choice, and second is poor by, own doing. They're just lazy, they don't want to. So the loan automatically keeps that kind of crowd off. So the freebie, everybody will come. Then financing, we need to keep the loans low, we need to keep the costs low, and we need to get employers to actively work with it, be very serious about these people, treat them fairly, nicely. That doesn't mean they are treated like prime ministers or God's gift to mankind, but at least treat them with basic dignity, right? So these are the things. That's the primer about on the ground case study. I hope the idea of this talk is to get you some kind of a background into the skill development sector. So I've dealt with skill development as the industry, then we've given a case study of what we do. The next segment is very interesting. I know that I don't have much time left, just 15-20 minutes, but that's about entrepreneurship, because rightly so, I think the current government has integrated the theme of skill development and entrepreneurship. And I know that, for example, for ages, development banking has been talking about entrepreneurship. But we need to realize that this is probably entrepreneurship 2.0, the next version. It cannot be done in the same way that was done in the past, because for different reasons. I think firstly, like I was saying, entrepreneurship is not it's not by compulsion. It should be by choice. It's a difficult thing to do. People need to understand, and also we need to understand what works for India. We can't just copy paste something that worked elsewhere. So we need to keep our eyes and ears open. This is a very interesting talk again. I will not have time to play the full talk. It's called TEDx. I'm sure all of you know about TED. If you don't know, please look it up. It's a very fascinating treasure of wonderful speeches by various individuals. And I don't know if I need to introduce Professor Muhammad Yunus. He's a Nobel laureate. He's the pioneer of the microfinance movement. And this is a TEDx Vienna talk he gave in 2012. It's about the history of microfinance and social businesses. So I'll just spend another 5 minutes looking at this video with you.
Repeatedly I come to the same conclusion. There is nothing wrong with the people. Poverty is not created by the poor people. Poverty is created by the system that we have built, the concepts that we have created. That's what created poverty. Nothing, absolutely nothing wrong in human beings. Poverty is externally imposed phenomenon. It is not internally developed phenomenon. So if it is externally imposed phenomenon, if we remove that external imposition, people will come up as human being as anybody else. And that's how the question of the bonsai came. I started describing poor people as bonsai people. There is nothing wrong with their seed. Their seed as good as anybody else's seed. Simply, society never gave them the space to grow. So they are just like the tree on a flower pot. So thinking, what's going wrong with the concept? I started looking at what is happening in the world. I said, in the meantime, in order to solve problems, I started creating businesses. It almost became instinctive in me. Whenever I see a problem, I go right ahead and design a business, start a business to solve that problem. I didn't notice it before, but when you have done it once, when you've done it twice, and you have done it 100 times, then you realize that you have an instinctive feature that you design a business to solve the problem. You look back, you created so many such companies. We have problem of electricity, so we created a solar energy company. Everybody said, oh, solar business is not going to work in Bangladesh. I said, who knows? It may work. Let me give it a try. Nothing wrong. If I fail, it's okay. But I have to try. So I tried to bring solar home system. It is expensive for the rural people. We made it easy for them to pay back. It was extremely difficult even to sell 5 solar home systems per month. It was such a struggle. Now we came to a stage after 15 years. We sell more than 1,000 solar home systems per day. And it's growing, improving. And it's done in a business way. So we did the solar energy in a business way. And it's expanding. People.
This 1 hour you invested in this lecture. Anybody? Corporation Bank folks? You can raise your hands, whoever wants to start. It's always starting trouble. Oh, you got no takeaway? Then that's a waste of your time. Oh, excellent. Get started, please.
I'm Krishna Murari Pandey from Canara Bank, working as extension officer. Sir, this model is exactly what we want now, because entrepreneurship development is required. But I have, for your kind information, for takeaways, as a banker, I can take like, say, if this is mechanized through UID, because Aadhaar card links, so we will also be very comfortable to lend those people, and recovery will be taken care of any PIS. But the query is, like you are saying, first I will train them, then I'll post to them as on-job training, then they will come for entrepreneurship. So what kind of duration you think that is sufficient for them to go for on-job training?
1 year is our.
1 year.
1 year is the minimum. Now after that it's their choice, right?
And whether any tracking mechanism is there, because in this government grant skill development programs, many PIs are working, but they don't have this strong mechanism for tracking them for 1 year. Because suppose one candidate is trained by you and posted in ITC or somewhere, and they are he is remaining there for 1 month or 2 months, or
So this is the tracking, right? He actually repays the skill loan. So if you have 12 EMIs, where the guy is repaying, when is he repaying, on what date he is repaying, the real, see, I believe everything is financial, right? I mean, we all love God, we love everything, but thing is ultimately it boils down to some tangible financial outcome.
Correct.
So skill loan repayment tracking, which is to be done, right, like any other loan, that is the taste of the pudding.
And you were saying that you have MOU with that agency for placing them there. What if that candidate will get, after 2 months, he will get higher salary from other organization? Can he leave or not?
Absolutely, as long as he repays his loan. That's what we are saying.
Then tracking problem will come.
Sorry?
Tracking problem.
No, but will he repay the loan or not? See, you need to understand here. He has a UID collateral which is given. Now the onus is on the boy. If he, for example, does not want to repay, it will show in his UID record that he skipped 2 EMIs, he then repaid 1, then he skipped the other 3 altogether. So he is actually, making his own credit history bad. So now that's why I think the moment you have some kind of collateral like this, credit history, see, why does the SHG loan work? Of course the peer pressure and everything is there, but fundamentally it is availability of future credit based on your current credit performance that drives repayment. We are applying the same principle using technology.
So we are training only those who have Aadhaar card or...
Yeah, now I think it's substantial amount of people have, and we will, in fact we are also facilitating creation of Aadhaar. So in case you don't have Aadhaar, you please come. We have 3 months, along with the training we will get you Aadhaar as well. So that's what we do. Yeah, please.
Good afternoon, sir. Myself Pradeep Thorat from Syndicate Bank. Sir, thanks for your great inspiration to us.
It's not loud enough, I think. Yeah.
We thought that our Syndicate Bank has started this same version of this your entrepreneurship development. Our bank has started in 1982, Rural Self-Employment Training Institute. Your thought beyond this rural skill development is forward linkages. It is depend on only on the, if there is forward agreement with the company or there is only a job availability. We thought that if you try to develop self-employment at the rural level, then it will be better for development of rural India, sir.
No, but that's what I was telling. No, see, Root City, I know of Root City. The problem is with entrepreneurship is we cannot sit and determine and say, because we cannot get you a forward linkage, you should therefore by default become an entrepreneur. The problem is, that's what I'm saying, entrepreneurship has to be choice. It's a conscious, informed choice. It is not because I cannot do anything else, therefore I will do this.
मेरा कहने का ये मतलब है कि सपोज आप अभी सपोज प्लम्बिंग में कर रहे, कंस्ट्रक्शन इंडस्ट्री में कर रहे, सो कोई इंडस्ट्री का सब आप डेवलप नेशन है, कोई ना कभी कभी पीक सीजन आता है, उसमें से बाद में डाउन स्टोर शुरू होता है. अभी सपोज आपने ये 2-3 इंडस्ट्री में शुरू किया, बाद में सपोज इसमें स्लैक आया, अभी मुंबई पुणे में आप देखेंगे पूरा रियल एस्टेट डाउन में है. सपोज आप इधर से रांची से पटना से ट्रेन करके उनको भेज रहे हैं, उधर उनको जहाँ पे ट्रेन कर लोन लेके वो कर रहे हैं, बाद में उनको जाके लोन मीन्स उतना उनको वर्क नहीं मिल रहा है. आपका एग्रीमेंट है, लेकिन सपोज इंडस्ट्री एग्रीमेंट क्या है, आपको 50% में पड़ा उधर 50% को पेनल्टी है इंडस्ट्री को, लेकिन उसको कुछ भी नहीं सेल नहीं हो रहा है, तो किधर से वो पैसा देगा उसको. इसलिए मैं क्या बोल रहा हूँ, आप जो है आपका थिंकिंग अच्छा है, लेकिन आप जो रूरल सेल्फ एम्प्लॉयमेंट आप ग्राउंड लेवल पे करेंगे तो ही बेटर इंडिया हो जाएगा.
बाबा सेल्फ एम्प्लॉयमेंट वैसे करेगा, लेकिन हमें क्या बोल रहे हैं कि वो ट्रेनिंग प्रोवाइडर का जिम्मेदारी ये है कि मैंडेटरी होना चाहिए. ट्रेनिंग का मतलब ये नहीं कि ट्रेनिंग स्कूल से पार हो गया तो उसका ट्रेनिंग खत्म हो गया, वो शुरू हुआ है. ट्रेनिंग तभी कंप्लीट हुआ जब उसको ऑन द जॉब ट्रेनिंग मिला. यदि मुंबई पुणे में प्रॉब्लम है तो आप केरला में जाइए, कहीं पे भी उनको ऑन द जॉब ट्रेनिंग दिलवाइए 100%. बिकॉज आप जब भी एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप ही ले लीजिए, नॉर्मल एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप जो होता है, मैक्सिमम सक्सेस रेट, ऑफ कोर्स वो जो स्टीव जॉब्स है वो सब जीनियस लोग हैं, उनका अलग से है। अल्टीमेटली जब तक ये बच्चे में वो समझ या कुछ स्पेशलिटी नहीं है, आम आदमी के लिए entrepreneurship which is experienced entrepreneurship had more success rate than people who are just fresh and starting, because उसको पता ही नहीं कि कंस्ट्रक्शन कैसे करें। आप उसके ऊपर में फाइनेंशियल रिस्क भी जोड़ दे तो ना उसके पास स्किल है, ना फाइनेंशियल एक्यूमेन है, ना स्टेइंग पावर है, तो वो कैसे सक्सेस होगा? इसीलिए प्रॉब्लम हुआ ना रूट सिटी का। दैट इज व्हाट आई एम सेइंग कि एक्चुअली इसीलिए टेक ऑफ नहीं हुआ, क्योंकि अल्टीमेटली सेल्फ एम्प्लॉयमेंट इज नॉट कि कुछ और मिला नहीं देयरफॉर इसमें घुसिए, वो चॉइस में होना चाहिए। जैसे हमारा ही ले लीजिए ना, हमारे यहाँ जो बंदा गल्फ गए हैं 2 साल के बाद 3 साल के बाद वापस आके यहाँ मेस्त्री खुद के इंटरेस्ट पे बना है। दैट इज इंपॉर्टेंट। हम इसीलिए ये इंश्योर कर रहे हैं कि आप ऑन द जॉब ट्रेनिंग के बिना, दैट इज व्हाट वो ग्राफ में दिखाया था पहले कि वोकेशनल एजुकेशन और ट्रेनिंग में आपको समझ आना चाहिए। जब तक इंडस्ट्री में उन्होंने ट्रेनिंग नहीं लिया, उनको बिल्कुल पता नहीं है। आप ही ले लीजिए ना, अभी बर्ड में आप कॉर्पोरेशन बैंक ट्रेनिस हैं, फ्रेशिस हैं, आए हैं यहाँ पे, तो बिना कुछ कल जाएंगे हम बैंक खोल देंगे, वो जाके बैंक कर पाएंगे? या यहाँ पे जो देश पांडे सर और ये बनेंगे वो ये कर पाएंगे बैंकिंग? क्योंकि जब तक अल्टीमेटली डिग्री एक चीज है, वो स्टार्टिंग पॉइंट है, एक्सपीरियंस इज द अदर। आपको ये लॉकर समझते हैं ना, 2 चाबी, एक चाबी हो गया डिग्री, दूसरा चाबी एक्सपीरियंस है, दोनों चाबी जब हो तभी खुलेगा एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप।
वो ठीक है, वो ठीक है,
वही बोल रहे हैं,
दोनों भी साइड में साइड होना चाहिए। एक बार आपका जो एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप डेवलप होना चाहिए और सोशल डेवलपमेंट भी होना चाहिए सर।
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल।
ओके, थैंक यू सर।
थैंक यू
सर। मैं भी नमस्कार, मैं देना बैंक से हूँ।
हाँ।
और आई एम लुकिंग आफ्टर आरसीटी, बट मैं ये कहना चाहता हूँ कि आपका प्रोग्राम बहुत यूनिक है, बिकॉज यू आर प्रोवाइडिंग वन टाई अप फॉर एम्प्लॉयमेंट। मैं सोचता हूँ, या मेरे सजेशन है कि आपको हमारे जो बैंक्स हैं, आरसीटीज हैं, या जो भी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन मिनिस्ट्री का है, उसे एक बार टाई अप करने की कोशिश करनी चाहिए, ताकि आप हमें भी कुछ एवेन्यू दे सके, क्योंकि हम उसको फ्री कॉस्ट में ट्रेनिंग दे रहे हैं।
तो वो ये भी प्रॉब्लम है ना, आप ये इसको बदलिए
तो थोड़ा सा अच्छा होगा।
नहीं, हम ये बोल रहे हैं कि आप इसको बदलिए। आप जब तक लोन उसको देगा नहीं, आप फ्री ट्रेनिंग देंगे तो नंबर अच्छा दिखेगा।
वी आर ट्राइंग बेस्ट टू गिव द लोन फॉर एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप, बट समवन आर नॉट वांट टू बी ए एंटरप्रेन्योर।
लोन फॉर एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप नहीं सर, मैं बोल रहा हूँ लोन फॉर इवन रूट सिटी के अंदर जाने के लिए लोन लेना पड़ेगा।
नो 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 नो,
वो तो मैं समझ रहा हूँ, ऐसे करिए, नहीं तो आपको दिखाएंगे एक्टिविटी, आउटकम नहीं आएगा। वो मैं बोल रहा हूँ।
वो ठीक है, अगर किसी को कोई और आपको फंड कर रहा है, वी आर जस्ट फंडिंग। हम लोग आरसीटी को रन कर रहे हैं, तो बैंक्स आर फंडिंग कमर्शियली बाय सोशल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी फंड। बट मैं ये कह रहा है कि आपका जो ट्रेनिंग का तरीका है, वी कैन एडॉप्ट, वी कैन लर्न। अगर आप उससे करते हैं तो हो सकता है कि कुछ और लोगों का भला हो।
मैं बोल रहा हूँ इसमें 2 इंपॉर्टेंट और चीजें हैं कि टाई अप एक है, इक्वली एक लोन है, तो ये फ्री में ट्रेनिंग का माइंडसेट जो है वो थोड़ा बदलना पड़ेगा।
दैट्स कैन बी चेंज।
क्योंकि वही समझा रहा हूँ, सी आप बुरा मत मानिए सर, एक्चुअली स्टडीज ये है कि सिटीज में गवर्नमेंट स्कूल के बजाय पेड स्लम में स्कूल होते हैं जो अनरिकॉग्नाइज्ड है, एआईसीटी अप्रूव नहीं है, उसमें पे करके जा रहे हैं गरीब बच्चों की, गरीब माता पिता उनपे भेज रहे हैं।
थैंक यू।
क्यों? वो इंग्लिश मीडियम है, पेड है, दे आर बेटर रन। तो इंपॉर्टेंट इज नॉट पेमेंट, इंपॉर्टेंट इज कि आपने उसका इक्विटी लिया कि नहीं, उसमें वो एक्चुअली कॉन्शियस चॉइस करके सहभागदारी किया कि नहीं, दैट इज इंपॉर्टेंट। इसीलिए हम रूट सिटी की बात हुई थी, हम बोले सब फ्री में मत करिए ट्रेन। कैसे नहीं करेंगे, बजट है। अरे बाबा बजट है तो हमको दीजिए, वो अलग बात है। एनीबॉडी एल्स? हाँ बोलिए भाई।
In fact, sir, one thing I wanted to know in your presentation that how many such institutes you have all over India and in how many states?
Yeah, we have about 20 institutes which we are trying to double to 40. We have about 7 states which we have covered, and we've trained about 5,000 plus students on the same loan-based model.
Okay, sir. This particular video that you showed, I'm from NABARD itself. I am Kaushal Singh, and in 2011, when we were undergoing our induction training, this video was shown to us. So today I'm feeling very happy that now I'm meeting.
We're saying the same story. We've not changed our line.
Yeah, that
the same model we are following. Absolutely, it's doing well. In fact, it's doing much better than even.
Yeah, it's a very noble idea that every training should be demand-based.
Absolutely.
But what my feeling is that there are separate institutes for imparting training, and there is one mainstream education. Why don't we integrate these two? Because we don't need everyone to pass 10th and then plus 2 and graduation with simple degrees. They are absolutely useless in
Correct. So in fact exactly what is the national skill policy अब जो July 15th को release हुआ है, if you have time please online जाके पढ़िए. Absolutely यही बोल रहा है, it's called vocationalization of education. कि एजुकेशन में जैसे आप साइंस कॉमर्स ये सब आ गया, अभी एक ट्रेड आएगा कि भाई आप वेल्डिंग सीखना है क्या, उसका ऑटोमेटिक जैसे 12th पास आप बोलेंगे 12th पास भी है और सर्टिफिकेट भी है वेल्डिंग में.
इनफैक्ट मैनी
इंटीग्रेटेड प्रोग्राम्स आ रहे हैं अभी. आएगा अभी नहीं.
Many people like drop out just because it's not useful to them. They are not going to get any benefit out of it.
Absolutely, I agree with you. So that is what they are saying. Vocationalization of education हो रहा है.
That is my take out, sir, from your.
Absolutely, excellent, excellent. Yeah. So whatever, I'm done. In fact, Prakash Saab, Badal Saab, in fact, invited us. We met and हमको ये लगा कि पंजाब में ऐसी चीज की स्किल डेवलपमेंट की वहाँ की प्रॉब्लम नहीं, वहाँ पे अलग सी प्रॉब्लम्स है. तो वहाँ ये ट्रेनिंग ये कोर्स हो तो उतने पैसे रखते कि एक ट्रेनिंग खुद खड़ा कर ले खुद इंस्टीट्यूट. तो उनका प्रॉब्लम अलग है. लेकिन चंद जिले ऐसे हैं जहाँ पे गरीबी है. इनफैक्ट अभी शायद इलेक्शंस आएगा अगले साल, उसके बाद वी आर थिंकिंग कि मिडिल ईस्ट, अभी पंजाब से बहुत लोग जा रहे हैं, तो वहां का मिडिल ईस्ट ट्रेनिंग के लिए फॉर एग्जांपल शायद पंजाब पुअर डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स में, तो वहां पे अटेम्प्ट किया जाए. एज ऑफ नाउ तो हम गरीब, बहुत सारे इलाका है साहब जहां पे प्रॉब्लम तो और भी बिगड़ा हुआ है. यूपी है, झारखंड है, बिहार है, तो हम पंजाब जो सुखी है उसमें क्यों जाए.
ਲੋਕਲ ਲੈਵਲ ਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਨਾ ਐਨਜੀਓ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਡ੍ਰੀਮਲੈਂਡ ਲੁਧਿਆਣਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਉਹ ਇਹ ਕੰਮ ਕਰ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਇੰਡਸਟਰੀ ਤੋਂ ਡਿਮਾਂਡ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਉਸੇ ਹਿਸਾਬ ਨਾਲ ट्रेन करती है.
बहुत बढ़िया है.
वो कोई चार्ज भी नहीं करते हैं.
वही तो समझा रहा हूँ. तो एक ही टेक अवे होना चाहिए कि इफ यू गिव एनीथिंग फ्री इट हैज नो वैल्यू.
ठीक है सर, वो इंडो अमेरिकन सोसाइटी है एनजीओ दिल्ली ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਉਹ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪੇਮੈਂਟ ਅੱਗੋਂ ਕਰ ਦਿੰਦੀ ਹੈ.
ओके, वेरी गुड. AIF, या थैंक्स.
Faculty, one Subhas Seraphin is asking whether skill development training is possible exclusively by loan.
That's what we have just said. Yes. So that is the whole pilot which we have done. 5,000 people. So is that's not? I think that's a decent number. 5,000 people, right? It is possible, right? What we are saying is a very simple thing which we told about. What we are saying is a very simple thing which we told about also when we started. कि भाई आप ग्रांट देंगे तो एक बार में कंज्यूम होगा. आवर डेफिनेशन ऑफ ग्रांट इज 100% लोन रिटर्न ऑफ. वही तो है ना, राइट ऑफ हो गया पहले दिन की, भाई वापस मत करो, है कि नहीं. हम बोल रहे आप उसको दे के तो दीजिए, एक बार उसको चांस तो दीजिए. यू गिव हिम एंड दे के आप वो क्यों नहीं रीपे करता. इनफैक्ट हमारे एक्सपीरियंस ये है कि सबसे गरीब सबसे ज्यादा रीपे करता है, बाकी किंगफिशर वाले शायद नहीं करते.
I'm working as a chief manager in Department of Information Technology.
Okay.
Few ideas I had in my mind, but it's an opportunity to express it.
Sure.
Sir, we will be giving lot of these AMCs. There, the AMC vendors always they will be complaining that they do not have this staff to attend to such services and requests. There are a lot of ATMs everywhere. We have approximately 1,80,000 ATMs at present. So you just imagine what would be the staff requirement for servicing those AMCs. I mean those ATMs. Similarly, printers, scanners, everything. If you just take bank into account, so much of skilled labor requirement is there. But we have got. I mean, if you just look into this ITI, CE and C, this they will do it. But practically they will not be getting any of this experience.
Correct.
These AMC vendors, they will be always looking for these skilled laborers. Unfortunately, they will not get.
Correct.
So why don't you give a thought about these things also?
Sure.
So that it would be a very good thing.
So MOU करवा दीजिए. You know the model. पहले employment फिर MOU करेंगे तो we'll train for anything. Absolutely good, sir. Thank you.